So are you a golfer who sees lots of this with your golf game? With the ball curving from left to right with a very, very weak flight, but you'd love to be that golfer who actually sees more of this. A much more powerful right to left shape with that draw that every golfer seems to be chasing. Well, today's video, I'm going to talk you through a little drill that's going to help you make a movement like the best players in the world to transform the shape of your golf shots. So if we take a look at the two swings, I'm going to show you what the difference was in the swing path, the direction the club was moving through impact to take us from that fade to that draw, and most importantly, what the best players in the world are doing between their backswing and downswing to really, really help you understand your golf swing better, but most importantly, hit more quality golf shots. Okay, so we look at this first golf swing. So we can see the path here was minus 3.4 degrees, which is 3.4 degrees out to in. So we see from the setup, the club head works back and under the yellow line. My left arm gets pinned very much across my chest. So as I get to the top of the swing, there's no room to shallow the golf club. The only way I can go is to steepen. The club works out in front of me, up above that line, and the club works across the golf ball, creating that left to right shape. Now the second swing, we can see here club path 5.4 degrees to the right, so from the inside. We can see on the way back now, the club head works outside the yellow line. And on the way back here, we can see that the left arm is away from the chest, giving me some room that when I get to the top, the body can move, close that gap between the lead arm and the rib cage, shallow the club out, the club head now underneath that line, swinging more from the inside and helping to produce that lovely draw. So what did we see with those two swings? A very common movement for a lot of golfers, that as they want to get the club on the inside, they work the club back around the body too quickly. That lead arm pins itself to the chest. Once they're at the top there, there's nowhere to go. So the only way they can go is throw the arms out, club works outside and cuts across the golf ball. But what you see with all the best players in the world, maybe not every single one, but majority, is that the club works a little bit more out, leaving some room between that lead arm and the rib cage. And when they get to the top, what they're able to do is as they shift and rotate, it closes that gap, gets the club shallowing out and working through. So how are we going to get you doing that in your golf swing? I'm going to take two shafts, but you could use two alignment sticks. And what I want you to imagine is that the ball to target line is on a clock face, and we've say got 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So instead of having something at 6, I'm going to have something at 5 o'clock and something at 7 o'clock. And what we're going to do is, if you were to make the usual swing that we see golfers make, we would see the club would match up with 7 o'clock on the way back and then match up with 5 o'clock on the way down. So your golf swing would have that loop of 7 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Now, obviously what we want to rehearse is the exact opposite of that. So we want to feel from there, we're going to go back, match up with the 5 o'clock. Once we get to the top, shift and get that across that 7 o'clock and then release that. So you can see that difference down the line. Passing over 5 o'clock to the top, under 7 o'clock and through. So what I would do initially, I would take the golf ball out and I would get there and really feel that you exaggerate those feelings, even in slow motion to begin with. Up, the arms drop down and then through. And once you can rehearse that movement, then implement the golf ball, because I'm a big believer that there's no point in just doing it as a practice swing if your concentration changes, you're not able to make the same movement. So you're going to get there, really, really focus on that, even taking speed out to begin with. Now that one's not drawn back because I didn't release the club, but definitely a different feeling on the downswing for anyone who hits pulls, slices. So again, 5, 7, and then the club can release. A little bit thin, but a much improved shape of shot starting to turn over. And it's funny because actually on the PGA Tour at the moment, Tony Finau is very much working on this in his golf swing. Tony always been pretty good on the way back, very short for that control, but looking much more nowadays like the club's working out, a little bit longer and then able to shallow out. And I'm sure most of us would probably say, wouldn't mind having a little bit of Tony Finau's golf swing. So we're going to get there, put a little bit more speed in, but really focus on that 5 o'clock on the way back, 7 o'clock on the way down. That one not quite turning enough, but it's not slicing, and it's a powerful strike. And the biggest thing, particularly face on, when the golfers are really swinging across the golf ball, we see much more of this impact position, very, very weak, whereas the draw feeling, we see much more of this position. So de-lofting, compressing the golf ball. And like I said, if you slice through the golf ball, even if you get that one that doesn't quite get back to target, the fact that you're not aiming left and making the swing worse and worse, get up there, rehearse that first movement, shallow the club, let that release. And there we go. If ever you've wanted to turn that slice into a draw, that's the drill. Get that feeling. So we're going to feel much more like the club stay outside the hands, crossing over 5 o'clock, the arms drop down so it passes over 7 o'clock, and release. So think, it's not too bad to have a loop in your golf swing. We would just rather the loop wasn't this, was more this. And if you do that, get rid of those slices, get rid of those pulls, and enjoy hitting some baby draws.